Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Scott Luton, Monica Fullerton with you here on Supply Chain Now. Hey, it's Veteran Voices Takeover Day. Monica, how you doing?
Hey Scott, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing wonderful, wonderful. And as we shared pre-show with you, Monica, your ears have been burning because we are Team Monica here, Team Spousely here at Supply Chain Now and Veteran Voices. So great to see you again.
Yes, you too. I love that. That's what I always say. Me and the twins always say that. Team Spousely.
Awesome. I'm going to get some t-shirts.
Yeah.
But so today, in lieu of our traditional Supply Chain Now live stream that we typically do at 12 noon on Thursdays, we wanted to back things up a little bit and focus on Monica's story of entrepreneurship, the spouse's story. It's going to be, we're going to offer up some easy and valuable ways that you can support special entrepreneurial communities this holiday season. So stay tuned for that. And Monica's got an inspiring story. So you're going to want to hear a lot of her key takeaways, experiences, and eureka moments. So, Monica, I should give you a formal introduction. So, Monica Fullerton, founder and CEO of Spousely, special co host of our Veteran Voices podcast series, and also a very proud and hardworking military spouse, right?
Yes, Air Force.
Go Air Force. All right. So we're going to dive into her journey here momentarily, but thanks for joining us here. Really appreciate folks tuning in, and we want to hear from you. So, the comments or the skyboxes, as we call them around here, drop in your questions, drop in your comments, drop in your experiences, your POV. That's what we're after here on all of our live streams. So, Monica, uh, I'm looking forward to sharing your POV with us, our community here. But are you ready to dive in to another live stream here at Supply Chain Now?
I'm ready. I'm always ready.
All right, and we got
Remember, I can't know the question, so I don't
that's
know what you're
right.
throwing at me.
Well, and that's where we found out pre-show, folks. We found out that Monica and I are a bit different when it comes to prep. Monica likes to go into conversations kind of blind so that she doesn't know the questions ahead of time. Goodness gracious, Monica, I planned breakfast a week prior.
Oh,
That's how
geez.
we're geared.
Can
But
you
hey,
come to my house, please? We could use some of that help because I'm not like a last minute person. It's so weird. I'm very structured and organized, but I feel like when I know the questions or I do any prepping, I get like in my head because it's only natural. I feel like with anything that you do, you get in your head about things. So,
right,
yeah.
right. I'm gonna try to take a page out of your book soon.
Okay.
But in the meantime, hey, let's do a couple of before we say hello to folks. Let's share a couple of quick announcements here, folks. These are great professional development, market intel gathering, learning opportunities. Next week, we're partnering up with UPS, Crocs, and Sunjoy on the 26th of October. We're all talking about getting through this supply chain squeeze, not just in fourth quarter 2021, but into next year. So join us for some wonderful best practices and expertise and some ideas, I imagine, for how you and your organization can get through it. So the link to join and sign up for free is in the show notes. And I've got one other I want to share with y'all on November 9th. Similar topics. We're talking about supply chain resiliency and agility, and how can you build more of that into your global supply chains next year and beyond. And we've got the one and only Lars Cesare joining me and Madhav as we partner with Coupa and Supply Chain Insights there on November 9th. So join us for that. Link to sign up is in the show notes. Okay, so Monica, we also on the front end here, I see Bruce Thompson's with us. Bruce, great to see you. We want to
Yeah.
give a big old hug, high five, lots of love to our friends at Vets to Industry, right?
Yep. That's how we met.
That is how we met.
Yeah.
Now, Monica, I've shared with our community countless times about Vets to Industry, but in a nutshell, how would you, what do they do?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of Vets to Industry. I feel like I plug them in whenever I can. I talk about them all the time because it's just such a great community filled with amazing people. I went to my first Vets to Industry networking event. Gosh, it's been months and months ago now, but I just remember leaving that event and I remember messaging Leslie, who invited me. I was in tears because I left that event with so many meaningful connections, just learning about other people, finding ways to help one another. And it was just a very powerful event. And there's so many events out there, but what I will say is it's a room full of great people looking to connect each other, bridging the gap, trying to find employment, diving into entrepreneurship. And it's just, run by the most amazing people too.
I'm with you, Monica. I echo everything you just shared. Folks, Vets to Industry, and you can learn more at vets2industry.org. They got your back. If you're a transitioning veteran, if you're a military family, they vet hundreds of resources. So not only do you not have to do as much homework, perhaps, but it's easier to find resources to fit your needs, especially if you're transitioning, because we all know who you know, and that networking factor is so important. So check out vets2industry.org, and hey, make sure you connect with Bruce Thompson, who is on their senior leadership team.
Also known as Batman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Bruce.
Yeah. He's just a super connector and a superhero. So very grateful for Bruce and his wife. They're amazing.
Awesome. Well, hey, connect with Bruce, connect with vets2industry.org. A slew of events coming up. Again, if you're a transitioning veteran in particular, make sure you connect with vets2industry.org. All right. So speaking of, we got Batman. We have superheroes in our skyboxes here. Let's say hello. Chrysantha. I say that right, Monica? Perhaps?
Chrysanthi. I always mess it up when I say it. Chrysanthi, right? Chrysanthi.
Chrysanthi. Okay. Well, regardless.
I think I might be messing that. We just chat. She's amazing. She's doing so many wonderful things. Have you had a chance to talk to her yet?
Not yet.
You have to. She's awesome.
We'll add that to our to-do list. Great to have you here, Chrysanthi. We look forward to your perspective. Of course, Bruce is also Team Monica, Team Spousely. I agree with you there. Larry Klein is with us. He is I believe he's an Army veteran. He's also in supply chain. He just took on a new role. So Larry, great to see you. Hope this finds you well. And folks, Monica, folks may not know here. I know that you've been on several shows with us, but folks may not know or remember that you've got a bit of a supply chain background, right?
I know. I was just thinking that when I saw UPS on there. Yeah, I was in logistics for a long time prior to this. And it's just has what allowed me to get where I'm at today, just kind of learning the industry, the ins and outs, love supply chain, love logistics, always talking about 53-foot drive vans.
Hey, we love it. We'll have to set up another episode and talk about that in particular. Hey, Peter Boley, all night and all day, is with us. A huge, maybe not a military veteran, but a 25-year veteran, especially of air cargo and that portion, and procurement and that portion of supply chain. So Peter, hope this finds you well. Hey, let us know, drop in if you can, and hopefully I'm not getting in trouble here, but Peter's got a new venture. He's gonna be helping lots of organizations. Hey, drop that news in the chats. We want to share that with folks there as well. All right. And one more call out here. Bruce mentions the next big event that vets2industry.org has got coming up, and he's on top of it. He's already added a link to the comments, so you're one click away. So
yes, make sure you attend at least one of those, because you'll be coming back for more.
Wonderful. And by the way, don't you like validation? Monica, you nailed it. So Chrysanthi.
It's funny. My husband makes fun of me because I'm so bad at names. It's like I could be like best friends with someone forever, and I still like second guess myself with names. That's like the one thing for some reason that I have a hard time with. So good. I'm glad I did that because I'm a huge fan. So
it is important. Yeah. Okay. So with no further ado, and welcome everybody. I know we couldn't hit everybody. Looking forward to hearing your comments and sharing your perspectives and questions with the conversation today. We have a wonderful conversation teed up with Monica Fullerton, who I've been pleased and honored to collaborate with on a variety of things around here. But Monica, for a handful of folks that may not know, we'll get to know you better. And I'm going to start with some fun warm-up questions that you have no idea what I'm going to ask you about.
All right, let's do it.
As life is, very interestingly enough, it really kind of relates to our pre-show conversation that we were having with Amanda and Jada, who were behind the scenes. Thank you, Amanda and Jada, for all of your production good work. All right. So yesterday, Monica, we're talking about wonderful, incredible people, Batman and Chrysanthi and others. I was talking with Minda Harts yesterday. Now, Minda, I should have had her books handy. She's author of The Memo, a bestseller, award-winning book called The Memo. And then her next release is Right Within. Now, at the beginning of our conversation with Minda, we'll be publishing that in a couple of weeks, we were talking about a couple of fun things that she's been known to be obsessed about. And for her, it was grits and rap lyrics. Now, first question for you, Monica, is are you a grits fan? And more importantly, you don't put sugar in your grits, do you?
So I will say I don't think I've had grits since I was like at Cracker Barrel last time, and that's like my Grammy's favorite place to go. So I can't really say I'm a fan. It's good. I like food. I love food, so I'll pretty much eat anything.
All right.
I'm
So,
not
okay.
supposed to put the what did you say? Butter in it?
Sugar. Some folks
Sugar.
put sugar in grits.
Why
And
is it supposed to be like more
savory.
savory? Okay, got
Yes. Cheese grits, of course, reign supreme around this part,
it. Mm.
this part of the world. Our kids love it. And of course, Amanda's mother, not taking anything away from Amanda's cooking, she's a chef, but Bammy, as it were, she makes the best cheese grits, Monica. The only
Oh,
problem is she, small portions. We're managing our portions around here. I could eat a whole crock pot
can
of
I come
those.
over and try some?
Absolutely. We're
Okay.
going to arrange for that. All right.
Okay.
So the compelling, hard-hitting questions on the front end of our time with Monica Fullerton here today. All right. So beyond grits, there's a couple things you shed some light on that you're obsessed about. What else, in a fun way? What's one or two things that you're obsessed about that maybe some folks may not know, Monica?
Let's see. What am I obsessed about? I love decorating, like interior design and decorating. That's honestly, I'm not a big workout person. I really don't have like an outlet where I can unwind and distress. So for me, it's decorating, which is kind of interesting. I don't like sitting down on the couch very often. So if I'm doing something and trying to unwind, I'm moving around the house, like rearranging things or decorating and putting things in places that my husband can never find again. And he always yells at me. So yeah.
All right. So obsessed about getting stuff done in a particular way and
Yeah.
decoration around the house. Okay, fair enough. One final question for you. We've got for some folks, one of the biggest holidays of the year is Halloween.
Okay.
I'm not one of those folks. It's one of my least favorite holiday. If we're being honest and keeping it real, it's one of my least favorite holidays. But hey, my kids love it, and that makes it very important to us. Any big Halloween traditions there at the Fullerton household?
Not really any traditions. I'm trying to get better into like dressing up with the twins because now they're at the age where they're like, why are you not dressing up too? So I think this year we probably should start that tradition for as long as they'll allow us to dress up and go with them. But I would say we're kind of at that peak age. We actually, I have one. It's not really Halloween. It's more kind of like Thanksgiving, but we make sauerkraut balls in our family. And nobody
Okay.
really has heard of those, but it's a whole day event. And you just make, this year we want to make 5,000 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody has like a different part of the job, like dipping in the egg, breading it, rolling it. And if you roll the balls too big, you get in trouble. So that is a tradition that we've had.
I can feel my heartburn coming on with just you sharing.
So good. Watching football, eating sauerkraut balls, the fall pumpkin candle going. It's amazing.
We're going to have to drop the recipe in the comments. Okay. Really quick, I want to share this and as I think this is Amanda or Jada. Never heard of sauerkraut balls, but I'm intrigued. We'll track down that,
All right.
that recipe. Definitely put butter and grits, but no sugar. We agree with that. All right. So Peter Bollet says, thanks, Scott Luton, for the call out. After 25 years of working at Air Canada, just having come off a 10-month consulting contract, and he's just decided to hang his own shingle on the door as HPB Strategic Solutions. And he also, in a subsequent comment, kind of lays out a lot of things he'll be doing there. So y'all check that out. At a minimum, make sure you connect with Peter. He's one heck of a great guy and a incredible supply chain guru. So, all right. So Monica, speaking of gurus, let's get to know you a little better here. So tell us a little about yourself, where you grew up, or a little about your professional background, or just what you love to do. Tell us.
So born and raised in a small town in Ohio. It's called Medina, Ohio. There's always Ohio fans out there somewhere. So it depends on who you're talking to say the town or to say, the nearest biggest city. So we're from Medina, Ohio. My husband's actually from there as well. So all of our family is in the same place.
Yep.
We are high school sweethearts. He moved away to go to college in Colorado, and I moved to South Florida. We broke up. We never thought in a million years we'd get back together, just stayed friends. And here we are today. We are back together, living this military life, and just amazing to see how small town two folks can turn everything around. So
now, would that make y'all Ohio State Buckeye fans?
Yes, we are. We are. We love making Buckeyes too. That's another great recipe.
Okay, we're gonna have to, so we do a supply chain chow channel on Facebook, and we have a lot of fun with that. So, Monica, we're gonna have you join so you can drop
Yeah.
some of those recipes in there. Okay, and really quick, Monica, we missed a shout out, and she's not with us here today, but Kelly Barner and Buyers Meeting Point are tremendous supporters of the veteran community. The military community. And of course, they've sponsored several of our episodes of Veteran Voices. So a huge shout out to Kelly Barner and Buyers Meeting Point. And Amanda or Jada or Allie, if we can drop a link to Buyers Meeting Point in the comments, that'd be great. All right. So Monica, now that we've got a little clearly you've got some culinary leanings, and we've also established pre-show that especially black licorice, thumbs down.
Yeah. No
That's not going to be in the Halloween trick-or-treat bags this year, right? All right. But candy corn might, according to you and Amanda.
With peanuts.
With peanuts. Okay.
Candy corn.
All right. So I want to dive into, the main topic we want to talk about here today is the business that you've built, right? The platform, the community you've built called Spousely. So for starters, just to level set folks that may not have heard some of your earlier appearances with us, tell us about Spousely.
Yeah, Spousely is an online marketplace where you can shop a wide variety of handmade products and services, all created by military and first responder families. I like to call it Etsy meets Angie's List, but with a focus on shopping for social good and supporting our nation's heroes.
Wow, I love that. Shopping for social good, shopping with a purpose. Have you seen Shaq, is now a spokesperson, and I think he's also an investor, perhaps, in Papa John's Pizza.
Oh,
and
awesome.
We all love Shaq, right?
Yeah.
They've baked in these commercials because I think $1 per pizza goes to a nonprofit.
Uh-huh.
And so they're all talking about pizza with purpose.
Nice.
And what a beautiful tagline. And so there's a lot of parallels with Spousely, right? Shopping, spending those e-commerce dollars, those holiday gift dollars, and putting them towards the special entrepreneur community, veteran entrepreneurs, or what's that?
Purchase with purpose.
Purchase with purpose.
Yeah.
Veteran entrepreneurs, military spouse entrepreneurs, first responders, military families, folks that have a wide degree of responsibilities that go beyond, maybe a traditional 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
And have done good things for society and for the globe, and supporting their businesses. That at the core is what Spouse is all about, right?
Yes. And for us and for our community, it's so much more than a marketplace. It's providing that flexibility and stability, living a life on the go, especially, I'm a military spouse myself, so I know firsthand the different struggles that we face when we're moving around about every 2 to 3 years. It makes it hard to hold a traditional career that kind of fits into our lifestyle.
Right. And a lot of folks may not know that. That might be in the blind spot in terms of some of the challenges out there for military spouses or military families, right?
Yeah, the military spouse unemployment rate has actually been at 24% for nearly a decade. And it's because of those challenges, frequent cross-country moves, spouses deploying. The spouse has to take on a lot of the responsibility at home, trying to hold down the fort, juggle everything, that sometimes it's just not possible to work in a traditional 9 to 5 job. So many spouses are turning to entrepreneurship, which is what inspired me to create Spousely.
And that's where we're going next. Really quick, before we ask about your why, 24%. Holy cow. We've got to do something about that. But to put, we're really practical folks around here at Supply Chain Now. At least I know I am. I want to show y'all one of the products I got from Spousely. This was a 5-pound bag of delicious coffee, Nicaraguan citrus from, I don't know the person's.
Sweet and sassy.
Yes.
And the owner is Melissa. She is a veteran herself as well. And she has started this amazing coffee business. And she actually does so many fun things. She has a podcast where she's bringing people together, enjoying a cup of coffee, making fun recipes. And we're just excited to have her on Spousely.
Love that. And you know what I loved even more than this coffee is how you knew, you knew the story behind this product. That is, and that really illustrates the community that you're building, right? And your passion for doing it. I want to, before we talk about your why,
Yeah.
I want to bring in Christina. K-Rod is with us here today. Now, we need to interview Christina because I can get to know her background a little better. But she loves the
Make Camo Your Cause. We partnered with US Vets they're doing Make Camo Your Cause right now in honor of Veterans Day. US Vets is trying to do everything they can to help end veteran homelessness. So what we did is we partnered up with some of our vendors who created specific camo products on Spousely, and then Spousely is donating our proceeds to US Vets. And then we also have a donate button on the site right now too as well. And it's exciting because, I've wanted to do things like that, partner up with a nonprofit, find ways to just continue supporting our community. And it's cool to see how the vendors on Spousely came together and made these special products.
I love that. And by the way, Christina, let me know if you're a veteran. I know that you're leading the veterans associate group, I'll call it. There's another word for that at Colliers International. Monica, Christina was just promoted to a big regional operations role. And awesome. I think she's also leading that veterans affinity group within, the really big organization that Colliers is. So, hey, Christina, let us know if you're a veteran, and thanks for being here as part of the live stream. We love the Camo Our Cause tagline and initiative as well. ERG. Yes. Thank you, Amanda. Employee Resource Group. That's right. All right. So again, circling back to a second ago, I love how you knew the story behind Southern Sweet and Sassy, the brand, this delicious coffee we have. And tell us, what was your why for establishing Spousely? I bet I can guess it because it exudes. You exude the passion and the purpose. But tell us what prompted you. What's your why?
Yeah, so I was very lucky to have a full-time corporate career, like we were talking about in logistics. I was working remote, I was traveling. But then as I started to meet more people and other fellow military spouses, I started to learn that not everybody had as easy of a time finding something like I did, where it can kind of piece into our lifestyle, like we talked about. And these are just so many amazing spouses. They're talented, they're creative, they're educated. They just have this just something about them in our community. It's that superpower to want to support one another. And I started looking into it more and just becoming familiar with the community that I was a part of, and realized that there is just so much talent within our military community alone that I wanted to bring everyone together in one easy place for people to shop small and make a big impact. And all of our vendors are approved in the military and first responder community from our partnership with GovX. And then anyone can come onto the platform to support our nation's heroes.
Such a beautiful thing. And y'all have seen tremendous growth this year, right, Monica?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of growth. So we launched right before the pandemic. I was still working my full-time corporate career, was getting Spousely off the ground. So the first year of Spousely, I was juggling both, working full-time and running a business, and quickly learned that our mission is not only powerful, it's viable, and it's making such a big impact that I made the full leap into entrepreneurship. And since making that leap, we've just had a ton of great growth. We just partnered up with USAA Small Business Insurance. We're over 350 vendors now, adding more on a daily basis, and just continuing to spread the Spousely love.
I love that. Okay. I want to circle back. Christina is a veteran of the U.S. Army, K-Rod, as she's affectionately known. She was military police, and it is the Colliers Veterans Employee Resource Group that she leads now. So Christina, great. We're going to have to get you on Veteran Voices, and we're going to dive into your story. Thanks for being here today. Okay. So Monica, if I heard you right, 350 or so vendors make up the Spousely community today.
Yes.
What's your, can you share, if you can, if you can't, it's fine. What's your target, say by the end of 2022? How big do you think that community is going to be?
Yeah, I will say everything has been done up to this point in a bootstrapping. I've done everything myself. And so now it's time to take Spousely to the next level. So obviously with more funds, more help and support, we're hoping to see those numbers continue to grow. I would say that they should at least triple with the right funding and help behind Spousely, because up until this point, I've been kind of holding up everything as a solopreneur, and just I feel like the wall right now. So it's exciting to just knock that wall down, continue expanding and growing, improving our tech, our marketing, and just being there for one another.
Monica, I love it, and I've got full faith. I think you said triple. I think you're gonna blow through that. I think you're gonna
go with triple. Yeah,
you're gonna blow it up, undoubtedly.
Well, the most amazing part is, and that number might not seem very big right now, going from 30 to over 350 vendors in pretty much a year, is the fact that we haven't done any marketing to get those vendors on the platform. It's all been word of mouth, and to me, every time I talk about it, it really does give me full body chills, because it just shows that something like Spousely was needed for our community. And it's so much more, like I talked about, than a marketplace. It's just bridging that gap and bringing us all together.
We're going to make a purchase today. I don't want to challenge the folks that are listening to this. Hey, we all use a variety of sources for, end of year, the holiday gift buying. Of course, the big A, goodness gracious. I wonder if we could really do some research. What the percentage would be there. But there's a number of, coffee is just one example of numerous products at Spousely as it's grown, and you've got different vendors, different products, you name it. Hey, check out Spousely and the URL, Monica, for Spousely.
So we just purchased spousely.com without the dash as well. So you can do spousely.com or spouse-ly.com, and you will get there, or just type it in Google and it will come up.
Love that.
That was a big purchase. So I'm still kind of like unwinding from that, but it was very much needed, because, people were having a hard time if they didn't quite catch the dash in Spousely. So yes, redirecting now.
Love that. Okay. So spousely.com. It's just that easy. spouse-ly.com.
Yep.
All right. So Larry Klein was also an Army military police and a supply NCO, non-commissioned officer. Larry, I love that. We need to circle back. Eric is with us here today. Clearly, Eric is a Star Trek fan, a Trekkie. Great to see you there, Eric. And Bruce says, and I agree, word of mouth is an amazing thing in our military and veteran community. Spot on, Bruce. And it's so important. I think
it really is. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about this community is, we collaboration can come oftentimes natural. We support each other. We lift each other up, tough days. And then the days where you're at the top of the mountain, right? You're blowing up from 30 to 350, and with plans to go even bigger, to take over the world in 2022. And it's important to celebrate that as a community. So, all right. So I'm checking my checklist here. We've reminded folks, use Spousely for the holiday season. And again, this is the Veteran Voices takeover of Supply Chain Now on our traditional Thursday live stream. So, all right. So Monica, shifting gears from Spousely and all the cool things going on there to, again, that military spouse, their journey, and some of the blind spots that we all may have. What else should folks know about, the challenge and the journey that is being a military spouse?
Yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to identity. And that's something that I struggled with. I had my own hopes and dreams, when I went to college, and I'm a checklist kind of person when it comes to goals. And you quickly learn that you have to pivot. We are really great at pivoting, but it's so important as a military spouse that you also still do what you love while supporting your spouse and their journey in the military. So it's an identity, and really zoning in on how to make sure you're always staying true to what you want to do and finding the ways to really make it happen.
So that pivoting, if all of us collectively have learned one thing out of the last 2 years, it's the importance of having a backup plan to your backup plan to your backup plan, right?
Always a backup plan.
Always a backup plan. And is it also part of the challenge, Monica, that, you mentioned the moving around a lot, right? Because when I was in military, you get the orders and you go where the orders take you. And you might be there for, a good chunk of your career. Occasionally, rarely, you see folks that have one permanent duty station their entire careers. But for the
Yep.
most part, folks can move around a lot based on where the mission takes them. And that, Monica, can make it challenging to grow roots that give you the support to do big things in life, right?
Yeah, and that's where my passion truly lies, is providing that extra income generating opportunity no matter where the military life sends our families, and especially as a military spouse, finding ways to continue bridging that gap and doing what you love, keeping your identity, still being able to hold down the fort, but also, you know, having what you like to do the most kind of up there at the top lines as well.
Love that. Okay. One final question, then I want to switch over to Veteran Voices, some of the guests we've had on our collaborative shows.
Yeah.
What is so you have twins, right?
Yes, 5 years old.
Okay, sons or daughters again?
One of each.
Okay, one of each. That's right. I forgot that.
Yep, we're the
What
M&M family.
what have they, based on your time as an entrepreneur and a founder and that journey, what have they noticed and what have they picked up on that you're really proud of?
Yeah, I think just them seeing me, following my dreams, because it's so easy to talk about and tell our kids, follow your dreams, anything is possible. And that's really what we talk about with our children, right? But there's nothing better than actually showing them firsthand. And so it's funny because the twins will be at school and they'll be talking to their teachers about Spousely, or something will come in the mail and they're like, is that from Spousely? And I mean, they're only 5. So the fact that they just know what's going on, they see me live in action, following my dreams, has been the most rewarding piece from the home front, just showing them firsthand what it takes to actually follow your dreams.
I love it. Modeling that behavior for them. And I know they're team Spousely as we are here.
Yes.
Okay. So we have had a blast thus far on just a handful of episodes with Veteran Voices. And I love the guests that you've brought to the table. Very frankly and transparently, it really dawned on me that we haven't put that spotlight on enough military spouses. We've really focused on the veterans themselves. And Monica, as you and I have agreed, and we've said it numerous times, really the whole family serves. The veteran may be the one putting the uniform on, but the family serves, right?
Yep. It just, sometimes you don't see the uniform, but there's still a lot going on behind the scenes. And I think anybody who has a spouse that's in the military will always say everything's possible because of their spouse, because they're the ones kind of helping make all the behind the scenes happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay. Which is just one of the thousands of reasons why we got to attack that 24% unemployment number and make sure we make it easier for spouses and families to succeed. All right. So a couple shows we've had, if my graphics are ready to go. So Katie Prill. Katie is the pride of Butler, Wisconsin. I love some of her stories around that. That's just outside of Milwaukee. Her and her family, if you recall, and I'm sure you do, Monica, because sounds like you know these folks like, family.
That's one of my biggest things, is getting to know the vendors, because it's amazing learning about them and their stories, because they're a true inspiration.
So her family, extended family, are ingrained in the community there in Butler. And she, tell us about what Katie does as part of her Spousely work.
So Katie owns a company called Love and Lettering by Katie. And basically she is just so amazing at calligraphy and designing different signs and mugs. This is one of her mugs. I use it all the time because it's my favorite mug. It says, "Every day I'm hustling." So she just has a wonderful shop with just great handmade products that are perfect for gifts. But the thing that I love about Katie is that she's also a nurse, and she is a mom, and she's a military spouse. And that's a lot of times the MO for everybody that's in the Spousely community. We have a lot of different titles. We wear a lot of different hats, but what brings us together is that creative outlet, and just having something that can take our mind off of the ups and downs of the military lifestyle. So her shop is incredible. She has so many great things. And I just love the fact that she is also a nurse, and has this amazing creative outlet.
Agreed. And loved our interview there. And of course, you can find that, folks, at Veteran Voices, or you can go to supplychainnow.com. You can click on the library for any of our shows, the library tab, and you can search based on keyword or guest, or you name it. Okay. And by the way, Bruce says without Nyla, which I think is
Yeah, it's his wife.
His wife.
Yes.
He says, I would never have made the level I did. Mill spouses are incredible people. I agree with you, Bruce. And let us know what branch and what you did, if you don't mind. But I'd be interested to hear that. All right, and then so that was just the first episode, I think, where we collaborated.
Yes.
The second go round was with Eric Gates, who founded and leads a Devil Dog Coffee Company. He's also a Marine. And Eric had a remarkable story of coming back from some pretty some tough places in life, huh?
Yeah, he also is a pastor. He also is a police officer, a veteran. And like I said, that's truly what the Spousely community is filled up of, just such inspiring people. But yeah, Eric went through a hard time after he transitioned from being a veteran. Well, he is a veteran, but from his time in service, and then also going into being a police officer, he went through some struggles, and the power of coffee is what really kept him pushing forward. It was those meaningful connections that you have with others over a cup of coffee. And so he started his own coffee business, and we've been a huge fan of Eric since day one. He's actually been one of our first vendors on the platform. So he's been a part of the Spousely journey for a while now, and just so grateful for his transparency and sharing his story and being an inspiration to our community.
An absolute inspiration. And on the episode, he talked about they've got a new
they have a van, a coffee. Is it a bus or a van? I don't really know what the right word is to call it, but it's amazing. So he's having so much fun doing that, because before he was actually doing, deliveries and stuff in the Austin area out of his car. And so he went and he purchased a van. It was one of his big wish list items, and totally painted it, branded it, everything. And now he's getting so much business from just, driving around, stopping at places and having that great cup of coffee with people.
I love it. And he is having the time of his life is what we picked up on. All right. So I want to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, if you would. It hadn't dawned on me until now, and it should have, given some of our past conversations, of just how well the folks that make up the Spousely community. So when you think about some of the folks maybe that have joined in recent months, right? Some of the newest members of the community. What are some of your favorite people or products or stories there?
Yeah, so we have families of all different sizes, people of different backgrounds and things like that. We actually have a new vendor. Her name is Mel. She is a widow. And just her strength has truly inspired me. Her husband passed away about 3 years ago, and she has found the strength and courage to write a book. And her book is coming out on Veterans Day. It's available on Spousely, but just getting to know her as a person, as a friend. I got the privilege of reading her book before it actually has come out, and it just really keeps me pushing forward, knowing the strength that our community truly has. And so she's a new vendor on Spousely, a Gold Star family. I was actually just on a call yesterday with an amazing new vendor. She's in Hawaii. We have a lot of vendors in Hawaii, which is awesome.
Yep.
And she has these beautiful scarves that she's designing herself. So it's all hand-drawn scarves, her prints, and she's getting them put onto, products that you can wear and take with you. And she also is like me. She comes from a corporate background, was making the salary she always wanted, but that passion was missing.
Right.
And now she's pursuing it. So there's just a lot of great stories. I could go on and on, because I do know that that's where my passion lies, is getting to know the vendors. And I cannot wait for the day that I'm kind of out of the back end, the trenches of the tech side of it, and I can just focus on that.
Well, you read my mind. You really are reading my mind. I sat down with a couple of what I'll call fintech gurus. We live in the era of financial technology because of all these transactions that e-commerce in particular requires, and secure transactions, right? And it was Theo was one of Theo, and I cannot remember. So Amanda, if you can drop that episode in the comments. Theo and Bradley were the two, and they had just written a book, Tech for Good, and they're it was fascinating. I mean, they are much smarter. They have probably forgotten things will never crack the code on. But let's talk for a second. You mentioned about your role and kind of, in any startup, the founders are wearing all kinds of hats, right?
Yeah.
And given the focus on fintech, even by extension, supply chain tech in this era, hot space. Any lessons learned other than you're looking forward to stepping out? But what might surprise folks, or what were some things that you had to learn about that aspect of the business at Spousely?
Yeah, well, I feel like with any entrepreneur, you're faced with quickly having to learn different areas that you just are not the expert in because you don't have enough funds or resources to be able to outsource it or
Right.
bring people into your team. So just being able to know the basics of different areas, I will say, is one of the biggest takeaways that I've learned. But then you quickly have to sit back and evaluate your time on, if I bring somebody in that knows this better, we could get there a lot faster. So just knowing where to put your effort and where to put the funds that you do have into powering what you're doing. I've quickly learned that I am not an expert in a lot of different areas, but it's gotten us this far. So we have to always be grateful for the foundation that we pour. But now when it comes to building that company, you have to make sure that you're letting others in who are experts in those areas.
Well said. And those are some lessons are more easily learned than others in this entrepreneurial journey. Isn't that right,
Yeah.
Monica?
Yes, so true. And I feel like, any failure that we might see on our journey has been one of the best ways to learn to keep you pushing forward. Because if you read about anybody's startup journey, you kind of can see that it's just up, down, up, down. But where we learn the most is actually in those down moments that you never thought you'd be able to get something out of.
Love that. All right. So Bruce came back with us, Marine Corps, 23 years with the Marine Corps, communications, electronics, maintenance manager, and senior enlisted advisor. And that's a really important role. And I mean this in a positive way. It's kind of almost like a staff psychologist, cheerleader, helping our enlisted folks get through challenges, whether it's them or their family. They're protectors of esprit de corps in many ways. So Bruce, man, I bet we could learn a lot from your experience over those 23 years. So thanks for sharing. And then Amanda or the team dropped in this. I talked about the FinTech gurus, pros with a purpose and tech for good. Y'all check that out with Theo and Bradley there. All right. So you don't like to brag on yourself, I know, but I'm going to do it for you because you were recognized with a big award from Forbes, right? The big global behemoth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so recently named on the Forbes Next 1000 list, which was just such a huge, I don't even know, it was an accomplishment, but it was, I can't even explain it. It honestly chokes me up every time because when you're in the trenches and you're doing so much, it's hard to kind of come up and see the work that's being done. So that just really was able to seal the deal on Spousely is impactful. It's making a difference and that it's truly providing our community with something new. So yes, the Forbes Next 1000 list. We also did just win the Startup Nevada pitch competition as well. So that was fun.
Wow. You're on a roll. So on that note, and just a heads up to the production team, we may finish up a smidge earlier here today, but Monica, there's already some tips and some advice and learnings just in this interview thus far for other founders or potential entrepreneurs. But if you had to think for a second, some things that you wish you really knew, way back before the pandemic, way before you started Spousely, what would be some of those things or maybe even some advice for potential founders?
Yeah, I actually just posted about this on LinkedIn before we hopped on. I will say my biggest lesson that I've learned is perfection is not the key to success. I think a lot of us spend so much time thinking everything has to be perfect right out of the gates. It has to look good. It has to function good. But you quickly learn that it's not reality. When you are building something from the ground up, it's only natural for it to go through different changes and pivots and growth and everything. And that was my biggest takeaway that I learned, because when I launched Spousely, I wanted it to be so perfect looking. I wanted it to feel like it had already been around for years. And then I had to dial that back in because we were still needing vendors, we were still needing customers. And once I kind of opened up that door a little bit to showing people the behind the scenes and what really is going on and where we are at, that's when I feel like we had the most growth, was because people want to be a part of the ride and the journey.
Love that. All right. So you've kind of, one of my final questions before we make sure folks know how to connect with Monica Fullerton. You've kind of given us a couple of appetizers for what lies ahead for Spousely and Monica Fullerton. Anything else you'd like to add when you think about that future state, whether it's 2022 or whether it's 2030 or any point in between? What else? Coming attractions. What else comes to mind?
Yeah, so we're going to be launching Spousely University very soon, probably at some point next month. And Spousely University will allow us to provide more tools and resources to our community on small businesses, getting started, everything that they need. There's so many great organizations already out there that provide tools and resources. So we don't want to recreate the wheel.
Right.
We want to simply highlight and share those companies in Spousely University. So that way we can all continue to grow and thrive together. And then bringing on the help and support, getting over the hump of bootstrapping and doing everything on my own. So marketing is going to be ramping up. We'll be improving tech, an app down the road, just a lot of great things in the works.
That is wonderful. And I bet you must have several clones because of everything that's on your plate right now. And you're making progress and growing well. So that's so great to hear. All right. So Monica, I imagine you get a lot of requests for public speaking, beyond the core business, keynotes, public speaking, you name it. That and anything else. How can folks connect with Monica Fullerton?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great. You can email me. My email, I believe, is on LinkedIn as well, or we can share it here. Reaching out on Spousely, finding us on social media, and just being a part of the ride, because we were talking about this earlier, Scott. The support is what truly keeps entrepreneurs pushing forward. People always see the shiny and the highlights and all of the features, but we don't really share much of what's going on behind the scenes, the tears, the heartache, everything that's going into it. So just simple support would be amazing. And I'm so grateful for how much we've received on our journey.
Love that. So make sure you connect with Monica Fullerton across social. Hey, folks, make sure at least venture over to Spousely. Take a peruse through all the different products and the stories behind them, and see if you can factor that into your holiday gift buying. There's something for everybody at Spousely, and gosh, if when you blink, it's going to be a lot more. So, Monica, I love the story. I love how you are empowering all these folks from this special segment of our entrepreneurial global community, and of course, the passion that you do it with is truly inspiring. So thanks so much for your time here today.
Yeah. And thanks for having me again, Scott. I love being able to sit down and chat with you. It always gives me that energy to keep pushing forward. So
awesome.
You.
Well, we're going to knock out some more Veteran Voices podcast episodes. We need to grab a few folks that were here, Batman and K-Rod, and maybe even LK, Larry Klein. Our job is not done. We try to publish a new episode every other Friday. We may have to step that cadence up in the new year. We'll see. But Monica, we'll have to collaborate on that. Quick heads up to everybody before we sign off here today. Join us tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time, as we're going to be reconnecting with our friends at U.S. Bank that produces the Freight Payment Index. So Monica, you were talking about dry vans. It sounds like there's some logistics and transportation in your background. This truckload. Full truckload. Love it, man. Monica, we're gonna dive in deep into supply chain, but there's this freight payment index they put out that helps folks and business leaders put their finger on the pulse of what's going on, especially when it comes to the U.S. freight market. Volume and pricing. It's chock full of learnings. we've got a supply chain leader from Mondelez International. We try to pair up Bobby Holland, who's with U.S. Bank. He's the lead analyst that puts the freight payment index together. We try to pair up him with a senior voice from industry on the practitioner side. And we get a lot of feedback around those. So join us tomorrow, folks, on a traditional live stream of Supply Chain Now at 12 noon Eastern time. And we look forward to that. Okay. So, folks, thanks so much for tuning in today. Monica Fullerton, the Spousely story. What a home run story. Thanks so much, Monica.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me.
You bet. And, folks, we be sure to reach out and find Veteran Voices wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're interested, if you're a veteran that haven't been able to share your story yet, reach out. We'll see if we can get you into the recording and production schedule. But on that note, folks, on behalf of our entire team here at Supply Chain Now, Scott Luton signing off for now. Hey, challenging you to do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. Be like Monica Fullerton. The world will be a much better place. And we'll see you next time on Veteran Voices or Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.